All right, guys, so for your practice problems, there is not a whole lot of room for you to write on your in your packet, but if you have an extra piece of paper or something you can write on to show your work, that way you can check your answers along with what I'm about to do. So the question was asking how many halves, thirds, fourths, sixths, and eighths are in one hole, two holes, three holes, and four holes. So you can use your fraction tiles that you cut up on Monday. You can use a number line. You can draw number lines like we did in the visual learning, or you can do area models, which is what I am actually going to be doing right now. So it's asking how many halves are in one hole. So we're going to start with halves first. Okay, so we have one hole, then we have two holes, three holes, and then four holes. So starting with one hole, I'm going to partition this hole in half. Okay, and I know that because there's two equal parts, that my denominator for each fraction is going to be 2. So starting here at the first piece, we have 1/2 and then 2 halves. Okay, so over here, how many halves are in one hole? I would say 2 halves. Moving on to the next one where we have 2 holes. So I'm going to be partitioning both of these holes into 2 equal parts in half, 2 halves. And then I'm going to, again, there's 2 equal parts in each hole, so my denominator is not changing. It's still going to be 2. This is going to look very similar to what we already did up here. So it's 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, and then 4 halves. Because we've already counted these 2 halves, so we're adding another half. So we have 3 halves, and then we're adding another half, and now we have 4 halves. So over here, how many halves are in 2 holes? We have 4 halves make up 2 holes. Because don't forget, we can still see those 2 whole squares. So just because it's been partitioned does not mean it's not the whole thing. It's still there. How many halves are in 3 holes? Let's partition my 3 holes in half. And then again, same thing, starting with my first hole. Remember, partition into two equal parts. So we have 1/2, 2 halves. Here's my second hole. 3 halves, 4 halves. All right, that's my second hole. And then my third hole. I have 5 halves and 6 halves. So 3 holes, there are 6 halves in 3 holes. Okay, and then finally, we have 4 holes. Partition each of those holes into halves. And then we have 1/2, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves, 5 halves, 6 halves, 7, so 7, and finally 8 halves. So 4 holes is equal to 8 halves. And again, like I said earlier, just because you've partitioned your hole doesn't mean the hole's going away. So we still have that one hole. Remember, we still have 2 holes, 3 holes, and then finally we had the 4 holes. And we've represented these holes with the following fractions.